to explain to people, I would say, this is what happens in movement. The brain gets information, it integrates it, makes a decision, and acts on it. The output is what we see, whether we're in pain, if we move really well, if we're tight, if we have soreness, discomfort, etc., etc. All of those are the output. And if the information coming in is not that good, you're going to always get outputs that suck.
This is episode number 144 of the Life, Strength, and Health podcast. I'm Kim, and I'm joined with Jamal.
Greetings, everyone.
And
peace and blessings.
Yes, and thank you for joining us this week. The voice that you heard was our special guest during this episode. That was Basil Butcher,
yes.
And he is a pain relief and performance enhancement movement coach. And in this episode, we're going to be talking with him, and we're going to be discussing a natural approach to addressing pain. So before we dive into that, I just wanted to read you a little bio about Basil before we dive into the interview. Basil Butcher is a former multi-sport athlete at the U19 level. After injuring his back 3 times, he switched careers and became a pain relief performance enhancement movement coach, guiding his clients out of pain and enhanced performance in life and sport many times after they have seen several other practitioners with only temporary relief to their challenges. He has been educated by NASM, Czech Institute, Barrel Institute, and Z Health Performance Solutions. He has been in practice for the last 18 plus years and has worked with clients from every walk of life and athletes across several sports.
And just to add to that or comment on that, we talk about it all the time, how a lot of people that just ascend to really leaders in their field and helping people experience problems of their own. Mm-hmm. So, you're reading about him having his 3 back injuries,
right.
Just kind of led him to, thinking about pain and looking at pain differently.
And finding a solution for himself because he was unsuccessful doing other things.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is going to be a great show. Basil's very knowledgeable. And also just looking at the body from a holistic perspective, I think it's important to just understand movement. And we're going to get into movement and that being a part of your holistic health regimen, not mm-hmm. just movement as in, let me go exercise, but your mobility, and all aspects of moving and understanding movement and its relationship to pain and stress. So I look forward to this show. We had a good time with Basil.
I enjoyed it. It was a lot of great nuggets. He gives some great tips that I've actually implemented when we went to go play racquetball, some things that anyone can do to enhance like their movement and mobility and performance in being active and in life. And the show notes page for this episode is lifestrengthandhealth.com/144. That's lifestrengthandhealth.com/144. And there you can get the show notes, and Basil recommends a book and his contact information. All that stuff will be listed on the show notes, and you can also find out more about our wellness center, Life, Strength, and Health, and how we help people to reach their health goals using a natural approach. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive into the interview. So today we are joined by Basil Butcher. Hi, Basil. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for joining us.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Happy to finally have you on the show. I know we've been talking about it for a while.
For a while, yeah.
Yeah.
It's great to be here because I'm trying to help to impact as many people as possible, that there is this information out there that can help lots of people. Like specifically today, we're talking about pain. Help a lot because we have, you guys in the health profession, so you know what I'm talking about. Pain is like the numero uno thing,
Right.
Too many people are living in chronic pain when I feel like they don't need to be living in chronic pain.
Agree.
Because our healthcare system is more suited towards acute pain rather than chronic pain. And so people just shift over from acute into chronic pain conditions. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I knew right away, just after us, just the first time we really met and got to talking, and just hearing your approach, it was right in alignment with our approach, just looking at things more from a holistic perspective and just getting to the root and understanding of things. So I knew right away. I think I mentioned the first time we ever met. Hey, I think you'd be good for our podcast. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You said that right away.
Right away. Yeah. It was just only a matter of time before we got you on. So before we dive into the important, or not the important stuff, but the meat and potatoes, as they would say, of the conversation, why don't you tell us a little bit about you? Who is Basil, and what led you on this journey to do what you do?
Okay, well, I've always had an interest in health. When I was a youngster, I actually wanted to be a medical doctor. I'm originally from Guyana. When I came to the United States to go to university, that was the goal, to become a medical doctor. And along the way, I kind of got disillusioned with what I saw about conventional medicine. It was, or what they call allopathic medicine, that seemed to be just focused on drugs and what have you. And I kind of started venturing and learning more about holistic health, natural health, if you want to call it that. And I've been on that journey since probably I was about in my early 20s. Specifically, what I do now, how I got to that, I used to work for FedEx. Got injured my back 3 times at work. And after the third injury, I said, really active person, play sport. I'm like, man, I got to find another way to get my back in order, because getting up and just getting out of the bed every morning was a task.
Wow.
Because my back was in so much pain. And I started the journey of searching alternative ways. And I remember I mentioned to you, I came across Paul Check.
Yeah.
He was a Swiss ball guy at the time in the 90s. And I started doing his stuff. And through meeting him, he introduced me to other things to look at the body in a holistic way. And then because of his introduction, like the organs and so on, I got into osteopathy. A guy named Jean-Pierre Barral, a French guy, he developed an osteopathic system. I studied that. And it was him where the brain came into play, because he would always say, when we do whatever manipulation around an organ or fascia, we're releasing these things they call mechanoreceptors that communicate with the brain. And I was reading an article, physical therapist, and he talked about his buddy also said, you got to check out this Z-Health stuff. So I was like, what the hell is Z-Health? And I Googled it, and I pulled up this stuff, and it went over my head. I was like, neuro, blah, blah, blah. But then Jean-Pierre, every time that brain thing kept coming back to me, I went back to Z-Health. Said, that's what that Z-Health people were talking about. And I said, let me buy all their public products and try them out. And I found they were really helping me. And I tried them on my clients. I was like, wait, I got to go get myself more educated about this. And in doing so, it helped me, because when I would help someone get out of pain or improve performance, I always felt like I could take them from here to here. But I can't get them here. There was always this inclination, I gotta push them hard. I gotta push them harder. But really, sometimes pushing them harder, you can end up hurting them.
Right.
And that's what I learned when I got to Z-Health and started to see the controlling systems within the brain of movement are what we have to understand when we're going to help people move better, get stronger, et cetera, get out of pain. You have to reach for how the movement systems are interacting with the rest of the body, or they would say to explain to people, I would say, this is what happens in movement. The brain gets information, it integrates it, makes a decision, and acts on it. The output is what we see, whether we're in pain, if we move really well, if we're tight, if we have soreness, discomfort, etc., etc. All of those are the output. And if the information coming in is not that good, you're going to always get outputs that suck. Mm-hmm. So we got to always try to work on getting the outputs better, and even sometimes the integration of those outputs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're saying is really powerful. And what I'm already hearing is a huge difference in what separates you from other trainers and coaches. Mm-hmm. It seems to be a trend of starting on the outside, right? Starting on the outside and maybe working your way inside. and not emphasize maybe. But it definitely sounds like you not only start inside and work your way out, you're starting with the brain. You're starting with the major, center of operations. Like, why don't you, get into some of those differences in your approach when you're working with people?
That, like, one thing I say, we're not just our muscles, because, as you know, most training modalities is always the focus is on stimulation of your muscles, right? And I explain to people, I do whole body training. Most training is neck down. Now when I would say to them, imagine if you see better, you actually can run faster. You actually can express more force. So why are we not? Majority of the systems are not even looking at the eyes when when neuroscience is saying 90% of the information the brain receives about acting on movement comes from our eyes. So you're leaving out such a huge key. You're not looking at the eyes, and then you go down to your inner ear, where your vestibular system or your balance system, which tells your brain where your head is in space so you can balance and execute movement in a really smooth way. If now that's, you're not even thinking of that. And most of us are walking around with some level of dysfunction of our vestibular system. And more as the research is coming out, we're starting to find out the vestibular system is not just simply about this balance thing. It has its influencing osteoporosis, osteopenia, ADDH, all these various things. It's influencing. So you can see, because anxiety and all that. Because think about it: if you're not a person you can't balance properly, you would be anxious all the time.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the extreme of that is when we get vertigo. You can't, because like the vestibular system doesn't know where you are. Your head is in space. They go like, and the brain's first role is to protect you. So the brain's like, man, I don't know what's going on, where your head is, so I'm gonna sit you down until I can understand where your head is in space. Hence, you get something like vertigo. You know, because if you stand up and the world is moving, you are gonna go right back down and lie down. You know,
right?
Yeah, and that's the difference. Is that, for example, we hear like trainers, we always talk about this thing, core stabilization, you know, because if your core isn't stable, you know, a lot of other things doesn't work. And we run to just doing exercises for the core, and we got to get the core strong. But interestingly, the controlling systems to the core are both the eyes and the vestibular system and different parts of the brain. And if you simply by giving people drills to stimulate those areas, right away they get stronger, because the stability I'm talking about is the stability that you as an individual don't even think about, that happens innately. Unfortunately, when we went in the gym, the most trainers, we're talking about the voluntary core stabilization when would actually stiffen your muscles
Mm-hmm.
or what have you. But you have to address the one that you're not thinking about, the reflexive stability, because that's the first line of defense, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other parts, because when that isn't as functioning as well, the other parts, the outer parts, are not going to be able to do their job. So that's why approach like what I do and colleagues of mine is totally different than what is generally done amongst trainers, because we are addressing the whole body, because every movement process is a whole body process, not just neck down or just muscles or fascia.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like to tell people, I look at your eyes, your inner ear, I look at your respiration, I look at your bones, your ligaments, your organs, muscles, all of those things, your whole body, not just your muscles.
Right.
That's a holistic approach.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
complete holistic. So, so my question is like, how does these things being out of balance, how do they relate to pain? Like what is pain, and why are so many people dealing with pain? Like it's like the number one thing, everyone is experiencing some type of pain.
Right. Well, to break it down really simple for general public, think of pain as the neuroscience in the last 20 years or so showing that we used to think that there was this one pain center in the brain. We found out that's not so. There are many different areas in the brain that can elicit the output of pain. Interesting thing too is that they call it, sometimes they refer to it as threat. So we use a really cool analogy. We say to people, look, you have this threat bucket and you have a threshold and you have a sprout on the bucket. When the threats that your brain perceives that are going on at every moment of the day reaches that level of the sprout, the output as it pours out can be pain. So threats could be your diet sucks, your eyesight isn't working as well, your inner ear, your exercise habits are not great, your relationships, stress, all of these things going on all at the same time, all the time. And when it gets to a level where your brain perceives this as this is too much, it'll slow you down and output is equal.
Okay.
Pain, right? So someone like me, understanding how that mechanism works, I'll work on the threats I know how to reduce. Now, someone like you, if you look at it from that way, you'll then work on the threats that you are trained to reduce.
Right.
And by doing so, once the threat level lowers below that threshold, the pain is gone. That's why people have come to me and they've been in pain for 20 years. Stuff has been hurting. And I do some things and reduce the threats that I understand how to, and they look at me like, how come this doesn't hurt anymore? And I always use that bucket analogy because so they can understand it's all encompassing.
Right.
And one of the important things about pain with people is actually teaching them, educating them about pain, because they always feel like if something hurts, that means something is wrong with that area or whatever.
Right.
And one of the things I often have to tell them, pain doesn't equal injury.
Right.
And injury doesn't equal pain.
Right.
You can have tissue damage and do not have pain, and don't have tissue damage and have pain because of the threats. I mean, like the examples I say to people, you have a bunch of people walking around with bulging discs and herniated discs in their back, and they're asymptomatic. They have no pain. Whereas you have someone that has the same thing and they can't even move. So if that was causing the pain, it should be 100% across the board.
Right.
The same with like meniscus. There are people walking around with torn meniscus in their knees and no problem with their knee. But there are others who have it and their knee cannot move. Their knee is swollen. They looking to get surgery or what have you. Again, because that is not that person with the torn meniscus. Their threat levels in their body hasn't reached to that threshold that the meniscus is not a big deal. They can function.
Yeah. That was a great explanation on just breaking down how to really understand this stuff. You made it very digestible. I think everyone can really understand and see that.
And how they're contributing to pain.
Right.
You don't have to just injure your knee. It could be living a poor lifestyle.
Right.
Correct. I remember a lady, I was doing a little workshop for runners, and I was showing her some drills. She had some ankle issues and so on. And I gave her the explanation of the pain bucket. And then she goes like, that's interesting you say that, because my ankle only hurts every time I'm mad at my husband. When I get into it never hurt. It doesn't hurt. It's only like when I get those situations, my ankle starts to hurt. Right. And I said, there you go. Mm-hmm. The threshold of threats went up at that point, and the ankle is wired now, the area that hurt. So the brain goes to its default, and that joint hurts. Yeah. Because and pain often too is we're socialized. Mm-hmm. Because we're taught as a child, we're taught if you see a cut and blood, you're supposed to cry, Mm-hmm. And how many times we have gotten paper cuts and we didn't even feel it? Mm-hmm. Because until we saw the blood, we knew we got cut. There was no pain at all. Right. We saw it, oh shoot, I cut my hand. Mm-hmm. So and one of the things I do, there's a book called Why Do I Hurt? And it's a really simplified explanation for people to understand what pain is, how we get pain, and so on. Because that education is so important, because people will always keep falling back to their default. Oh, I did something. I have a client like that. Mm-hmm. Every time something hurts, oh, Basil, I did something. Even though I keep reinforcing to her, you didn't do nothing to thing. And I'm always doing things to show her there is nothing wrong with your foot. Mm-hmm. Because these areas aren't working as well, your foot starts hurting. Mm-hmm. And as soon as we get them working well, you notice your foot doesn't hurt. You go like, yeah, that's true. But that socialization is so embedded. Yeah. You got to keep hammering away to educate, just educating. Right. I heard a story from a guy who's one of the foremost researchers in pain science, a guy named Lauren Mosley, Australian guy. And he talked about this one patient he had, truck driver, had crazy pain. He did everything he could do. Then he got to the emotional part. The guy had an issue every time he was going to get out of his truck. Everything started to hurt. Mm. So he had to use the getting in and out of the truck as a tool to get this guy out of pain. Mm. It was nothing else, so the emotion and all that stuff goes into that threat bucket.
Mm. You're bringing up a really serious issue, because people that don't really understand pain the way that you're explaining it, which is most people, their approach to dealing with the pain always results in the same way, which is why the pain medication industry, whether it's over the counter or prescribed, why it's $1 trillion business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because the first thing is grab something. I know people many people, I know you do too, they travel with painkillers in their bags, just in case. And they pop them like candy,
Exactly.
Yeah. We even know someone that says, I'll just take it every day to keep it in my system.
Yes.
Correct. Just so that I don't experience the pain. Right. Yeah. Because that has been taught from the socialization that you're talking about. That's been taught. This is, you have pain, you take a pain med, you turn it off, you turn that signal off. Right. But meanwhile, they continue to stack on this stress that you're talking about, right?
Correct.
And then when it wears off, the pain is worse.
Yeah. Because there's a tool that we use. It's called a pointer plus. We have these things called motor points all over our body in different muscles. Different muscles have more of them. There are points where these are the points where the peripheral nerve, the superficial nerves, that the nerve endings, that's the points where you find them, right? Mm-hmm. Interesting thing about these points, and I've had a colleague who was an acupuncturist who has suggested to me, those are the same points that acupuncturists use when they're relieving pain. Well, we do it a little different way. We use this thing called a pointer plus, which has an electric charge. And since those nerves are also electric charged, we use that to find it. So when you find a point and you release that point, one of the things, what you're doing every time you do that, you're stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system, the one that, relax, recover, etc. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, that muscle, if that muscle or that area where it was painful, the pain would disappear. Mm-hmm. And what also happens, the muscles, now you are able to contract them harder and better, more efficiently when you do that. And the other part, you're so relaxed. I have one client, she's like a type A person. So she doesn't know what relaxed looks like. So one day I was working on motor points in her. She fell asleep on the table. Wow. And so when I was done, I had to tell her, all right, you can get up now. And she look at me, she go like, I feel this is weird. I said, no, this isn't weird. Now you finally experience what it feels like when you're relaxed. So you can always go back to this feeling, that to know this is what relaxing feels like.
Right.
And as I was telling someone earlier, like when I work with sports teams, I used to have my cold spray, like guy get hit or something. I ran out of the field with cold spray and sprayed on the area. Now I run out with my pointer plus. So the area I hit, find the motor points, release it. And all the time, the athletes always looking at me like, what did you do? Because they were hurting like hell a minute ago, and then they're no longer hurting. And that's also a lesson when I use that as a lesson for pain, to show people, again, you see, if this was a damage and pain equals, why did the pain go away? Right. I reduced the threat and the pain left.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is, can you give us an example? Like, what are some extreme cases of pain that you've seen and kind of practice some of these techniques and, completely reduce the pain?
I had a colleague, he came, he injured his back. He's playing volleyball or something. Mm-hmm. So when he came in to see me, he was all twisted up like this. And he left. He was, I did all the different things, eye things, midline stability, the motor point, and the other thing too, we do taping, because if you tape, that's another way I show people how pain is this transient thing and output, because you can be hurting like hell and I tape in a specific direction and the same spot I just was pressing on that was hurting no longer hurts. Another guy I can remember, he came to see me at my house, and I always regretted that I didn't take the video of him getting out of his car walking across the street, because he could barely walk, came out the car, and limping across, had to hold on to the rails as he went up the stairs. And when he left, he ran down the stairs.
Wow.
His car jumped in the car, into the car, Yes.
So when, either way, taking a natural approach is always going to be better, especially if you don't have to take these drugs, these pharmaceuticals. Yes. However, my question to you is, when you apply these techniques, and the pain goes away, have you seen in people like permanent success, or do you see like that, the pain will come back?
All right. Well, that's a really great question. And that's where the self-reliance comes into play. And you would know about that.
Mm-hmm.
That is probably the most difficult thing we as health practitioners that don't just pop pills have to deal with.
Right.
Compliance.
Yeah.
So whatever the drills that we would have done with that individual, get them out of pain, that becomes their homework.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they're tasked to do a couple of times a day, every day, and then over a period of time, then they would then come back, or if it's one of those people that comes to see me all the time, that's different. If you don't, then you will come back and we'll give more progressive things, because even though I got you out of pain, you have to do these things. Also, you have to get strong.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You have to be able to have the strength. Like, say if your knee was having a problem with your knee, you have to have the control, the strength of your knee in all the ranges of motion and so on. Because if I help you to get mobility back and not the strength to control that new mobility, you're going to go right back to square one.
Right. Makes sense.
Yes, that's the whole thing. It's the compliance on the part of the individual that plays a huge task. And that's what we the term, the thing I explain to people, the science of neuroplasticity. The brain is a very plastic thing. It will make the change if it feels this change is going to be necessary. But how the brain is going to accept that is that you giving it intense stimulation in that way over and over and over. And then it's going to be like, okay. And what the research has shown, anywhere between 20 hours and 20 to 40 hours of that work is when such a drill will just become like a maintenance. You might do it once a week if you need to, or what have you.
Right.
And it's no longer where you do it like an acute phase several times a day.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, people have to be equally as committed to getting out of the pain as much as they were committed to getting themselves into the pain unconsciously.
Yes. Because one of the interesting things I've learned over the years dealing with people with pain, they have some people actually wear their pain as a badge of honor because that's their whole self-identity. And for people like that are often really difficult because if the pain is taken away, that whole self-identity and pity party, or as one woman, I think Carolyn Means used the term woundology, because that's she calls it woundology. That their whole persona has been removed, because now, they don't have pain. Now they have to be more accountable to themselves and not to people being pity on them. Oh, because, I got this bad back, I can't do this and so on and so forth, and so you got to help me and so on and so forth. Yeah.
So for our listeners that are just kind of hearing about this for the first time, and they're wondering, is there anything that they can do on their own if they're experiencing pain to begin this work, to begin this process? Is there anything that they could do? Are there any suggestions or tips that you can give a person that's dealing with pain?
The first thing I would always recommend right off the top, because pain is individual. So it's really hard to give a prescription that goes across the board. I would recommend them to get a little book called Why Do I Hurt by a guy named Adrian Lowe.
I'll make sure to put that in the show notes pages.
Yeah. His last name is his name is Adrian, is spelled with two A's, and Lowe is Louw. Why do I hurt? Because right there and then, what we were just talking about, this whole thread bucket, they'll start to see why they hurt. Yeah. It's all these other factors that are going on in their life that play a role to the pain. And it's not just, my shoulder, or I got this old knee pain from high school playing basketball or football with my shoulder or what have you. Those are all parts of the threat. But just starting to understand why you hurt, I think is the best thing for someone to start from, because it's hard to tell someone give up any kind of like tips, because it's so individual.
Right. We totally get it. It's just like when someone comes in with a health challenge. It could be, 10 different people with the same health challenge, but it could be for different reasons, so you can't give them that one kind of cookie cutter thing for everything. So we totally get it. But still that information is really helpful. And what I'm hearing is that people have to take responsibility for how they're feeling, how they got to where they are. And they're responsible for getting themselves out. Like we're the guides, and we can guide people, but they have to do the work. They have to internalize it, and this, and the same thing. It's interesting because no matter who we bring on, the answer is always the same, like you have to do the work. You have to do the work. It might be a different aspect of your life. For one person, it could be, I'm just throwing this out there, it could be, high blood pressure. And then in another person, it could be pain. But regardless, you have to do the work in order to bring your body back into balance.
And it also requires you to be more present in your life and the choices, your thoughts, your actions. You have to kind of know how you're living, right? Sometimes we get caught in the rut.
Yes.
Yeah, because like what you guys are saying, just think of, I always tell people, you earn the body you have.
Right.
It's your choices why you there. And that's why one of the, all of us in the healthcare professions, one of the biggest challenges, because we all realize this, is behavior modification, because your behaviors is what earned you this.
Yes.
You cannot operate in the same environment and same habits and expect to get out.
Right.
And so that's another part of what I do is behavior modification. It's like if someone says to me, like one of my clients, we were having this conversation and she wants to lose weight. And I said to her, and she was saying to me that, one of the things I noticed, I just keep eating and eating. I don't want to stop eating. And I said, well, we're going to do what we call a skill scan. And we tell the client, you have 4 minutes, you have a blank piece of paper, and you want to write down all the skills you think are necessary for you to have, for you to attain the goal that you're trying to attain. And what I mean by skill, I mean something that you could write on a calendar. Monday, I'm going to do X. Tuesday, I'm going to do Y, etc. Not like say something like, oh, I have to eat good, because that's it, right?
Right.
So I told her that, because I told her, like, for example, I said, I can tell you about me. I said to her, I have that skill of not overeating. I said, I could buy a bag of cookies and it'll stay in my house. It will last over 2 weeks, because I can take one cookie at a time and eat and don't go through the bag in one sitting, because I've developed that ability not to skill of not overeating. And she goes, I can't do that. I said, well, that's something we have to work on helping you to develop, because that's very important for anyone who wants to lose weight. Because we, as you guys would know, overeating is one of the reasons that plays a big role in people putting on excess weight.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So I think that this was a really, really great introduction to giving people a much firmer understanding of their bodies, as always, and understanding pain, and giving them some kind of action steps on what they need to do in order to change how they're feeling. And one of the questions that we like to ask all of our guests, and this just isn't limited to pain. This is just in general with any area of their health or their well-being in their life. If there was one thing that a person could do to have the biggest impact on their health, what would that be for you?
I think it's putting in context their life. And how I would say this, you have your lifestyle, you have your relationships, and then you have whatever profession you have, or whether you work or you're a business owner, what have you. And I think people need to put those things in that order.
Mm-hmm.
Taking care of self, right? That's always going to be your first priority. You have to take care of yourself.
Right.
Then you nurture your relationships. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, your relationship's going to have some problems.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then your relationships, then your work or your business.
Yeah.
I think people put those things in those orders, their well-being is going to be a lot different, because their priorities would have shifted to what really life is about,
right.
and not chasing the acquirement of material riches or what have you. Rather, yourself and your relationships are the two preeminent things. And just to add, I just thought of this,
mm-hmm.
In terms of, you were asking like something that people can try for, a little tip for their pain. And it's a little drill for their eyes,
mm-hmm.
where they would just simply take their finger, keep their head still, and follow their finger, make a circle with their eyes in both directions. So to get their eyes, working in ways they probably haven't had it work in a while is a great way. Because I've had people just simply do that, and their shoulder now feels a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
Just doing those little eye circles, because they're great drills to warm up the muscles of the eyes also.
So just to explain that a little bit more for those listening, so that they could visualize it, you're saying put your finger out in front of you.
Hold your finger in front.
Mm-hmm.
Hold your finger in front of you. I will always tell them put another finger on their chin,
mm-hmm.
so they don't want their head moving,
mm-hmm.
and they make a circle, maybe a small one,
mm-hmm.
with their finger following their fingernail, and they do it in circles both directions,
like up around, like up and like around to the
circle.
right, full circle. Yes.
Yeah, and as they get better, they can make the circle bigger.
Okay. And how many circles should they do?
Maybe like 3 to 5 in each direction.
In each direction. Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's great. I'm sure people are probably doing it right now while you're saying it.
Because the eyes are so important. Because I actually use that as a warm up for teams before they go out to play on the field,
mm-hmm.
just to get their eyes going. And by just doing that, you might open up, I can see a little better. And once you can see better, your brain automatically starts to take the brakes off of how you can move.
Right.
Because now it's getting better information from your vision about where you are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, you move a lot better. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And one more, I'll give you one more with the eyes.
Sure.
Other one they can do is they look straight ahead,
mm-hmm.
find a point, and they have their 2 fingers on each side of their head. And each time they move a finger, both of their eyes must shoot over to that finger. And they move the other one, they go back to the other side. So they're going back and forth. And we call that saccades.
Mm-hmm.
And saccades is also what we do when we read. So you can see how ADHD or whatever that thing, that attention deficit disorder can affect a person by if they can't saccade well. Because reading is going to be a challenge,
right.
And that's another way, could be another reason why, someone, you read a book and like after about 15, 20 minutes in, you get so tired, you get tired from reading because your eyes are not saccading well.
Yeah. Makes sense. So how many times do they look kind of like back and forth?
I tell them do it like 5 times each direction.
Okay.
Yeah, because one of the cool things, and just hold it like just about inside your shoulders.
Oh, okay.
Inside your shoulders, not all the way out, inside your shoulders. Because one of the things, the saccades stimulate so many parts of your brain. So you'll light it up. And one last thing, you just gotta remind me. Another thing, people if they get dark colored, like blue colored lenses, and you put those on, just wearing blue colored lenses stimulates so many parts of your brain. So they could wear a pair of blue lens for a couple of hours a day. Just doing that alone would help them.
So literally, like blue, like when you look through it, it's blue.
Yes.
And so they wear that on like when they get home for a few hours, and that'll stimulate areas of the brain that'll be beneficial for them.
And like when the sun is out, they could walk around like it's sunglasses, wearing a blue lens, So people will look at them like, what the hell are they doing with blue lens? Well, it's my sunglasses, Yeah. And they just, wear the colored lens, the blue lens. And I can tell you, I've seen things that, you would say like miraculous. Someone could touch their toes, they put on blue lens and they hit the floor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just putting that on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, it was great having you on the show. Very insightful.
Thank you very much for bringing me on. Yeah, I appreciate it.
And for those who want more information, they want to work with you, they want to follow you, they want to get your services or buy your products. Can you share all of your information, social media, website?
Well, my website is called FITP, the number 2o.com, like H2O. That's my website. My Instagram is also the same, FitP2O. I'm pretty much on there, just writing about different regarding what I do. My number is 917-415-6800. And that's another way they can reach me. Or my email is my name, Basil, Basil, Butcher, Butcher, @gmail.com. And those are the ways they can reach out to me.
And you're based in New York, right?
Yeah, I work in Manhattan. The place I work out of is on 24th Street and 6th Avenue. Okay. So all the trains, lots of trains are right there in the area. Public transportation.
Gotcha.
It's not an issue. Like me, for example, I live in New Jersey. I take the path. I get off at 23rd and have to walk one block.
Okay.
And, I'm right there. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. All right, brother. Yeah. Well, again, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you.
All right,
take
brother.
Care.
Take it easy.
All right. Take care.
So that is the conclusion of our interview with Basil Butcher. Hopefully you enjoyed the interview, but most importantly, you received value from it. And for access to the show notes pages, please go to lifestrengthandhealth.com/144. And there I'm going to list Basil's contact information. I'm going to list the book that he recommended. And there's other information there as well. And you can learn more about our wellness center, Life Strength and Health, and how we help people to reach their health goals using a natural perspective.
Yes. And also, we just want to make our official announcement for the year. We started doing our morning motivation podcast. It's like a mini podcast episodes that we do. So now every morning, Monday through Friday, just for the shows range between 2 and 4 minutes, we just do a little morning motivation, some words of encouragement, some things to just work on you mentally, right? Because a big part of this is the mental journey. So we, help you to start your morning out right. So if you haven't checked that out yet, we highly recommend, maybe on your way to work, when you're getting ready in the morning, throw that on, listen to it. And this is part of the progress of reprogramming your mind for success.
Exactly. And all those are listed on our website as well. So, check them out. Leave us comments. We've been getting tremendous feedback. So thank you for letting us know that the Morning Motivation Series is impactful and people are enjoying them. So that truly makes us feel good and it inspires us to keep going and serving you by releasing new episodes. So once again, thank you for listening. Stay tuned for the next episode. And until next time, live healthier.
Stay healthy, everyone. Peace and blessings.